The house was warm with laughter and golden light. Soft music drifted through the living room while the dining table groaned under platters of food and a beautiful two-tier anniversary cake with 9 candles glowing softly on top. I stood beside my husband Nathan, his arm around my waist, as we celebrated 9 years of marriage. I was 34, and for a moment, everything felt perfect. Friends and family filled our home. Glasses clinked. Stories were shared. Nathan leaned down and whispered, "Can you believe it's been 9 years already?" I smiled up at him, squeezing his hand. Sometimes I still can't. But across the room, Nathan's older sister Rebecca watched us with a look I had come to recognize too well. Not warm, not celebratory. It was the quiet, sharp gaze she had worn for years whenever she looked at me, the outsider who had married into the family. Rebecca had never liked me. From the day Nathan introduced us, she made it clear I wasn't good enough. At first it was small comments wrapped in smiles. Later the smiles grew thinner and the comments sharper. "You're lucky Nathan takes such good care of you. Must be nice to live so comfortably." Words that sounded innocent to others but always carried an edge meant only for me. I had learned to ignore it. Tonight was supposed to be about us, not old tensions. The moment to cut the cake arrived. Nathan and I stood together as someone dimmed the lights. Guests raised their phones to record. Nathan grinned at me, love clear in his eyes. Then Rebecca's voice cut through the warmth. "Actually," she said loudly, stepping forward, "before we celebrate, I think everyone deserves to know the truth." The room quieted instantly. Nathan frowned. "Rebecca, not now." She ignored him. Her eyes locked on me, cold and triumphant. She held up her phone like a weapon. "Your perfect wife, Olivia, has been living a double life. She has a secret child with another man." Gasps rippled through the room. Someone dropped a glass. Whispers exploded like firecrackers. Nathan's arm slipped from my waist. He stared at his sister in disbelief. "What are you talking about?" Rebecca smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "I have proof." She turned her phone toward the guests. Messages appeared. Intimate conversations, photos of a little girl, timestamps that looked damning. She's been hiding a child for years. While Nathan thought he had a loyal wife, she's been playing house with someone else. The room turned against me in seconds. Eyes filled with shock, disappointment, even anger. Nathan looked hurt and confused, his face pale as he stared at the screen. I felt the weight of every gaze. But instead of crying or defending myself, I took a slow, steady breath and smiled. Rebecca blinked, clearly caught off guard. "Why are you smiling?" she demanded. I looked at her calmly, then at the stunned guests, then back at Nathan. A week earlier, I had discovered something Rebecca never expected me to find. Something that made her proof far more dangerous to her than to me. I gently set the cake knife down. Then I spoke the words that would change everything. "Since you brought your phone," I said softly, "why don't we connect it to the TV? So everyone can see the evidence clearly." The room went deathly silent. Rebecca's confident smile began to crack. The silence in the room felt heavier than any noise could have been. Rebecca stood there, phone still raised like a trophy, her smile sharp and victorious. She had waited years for this moment, to finally expose me in front of Nathan, his parents, and everyone we cared about. I had felt her resentment since the beginning. From the first family dinner, when Nathan introduced me, Rebecca had made it clear I didn't belong. She never said it outright at first. Instead, it came in small cuts. "You're so lucky Nathan provides everything," or "it must be nice to marry into a family that actually has something." Over time, the comments grew bolder, especially after Nathan's younger brother died 3 years ago. Rebecca seemed to blame me for the distance that had grown between her and the rest of the family, as if my presence had somehow replaced what she lost. Nathan looked devastated. His arm had fallen away from me completely. "Rebecca, what the hell are you talking about?" His voice cracked with confusion and hurt. Rebecca stepped closer, holding the phone higher so more people could see the messages and photos of the little girl. "These are real. I didn't want to do this on your anniversary, but you deserve to know the truth. Olivia has been hiding a child. She's been living a double life behind your back." Whispers erupted around us. Some guests stared at me with open disappointment. Others looked away, embarrassed. Nathan's mother covered her mouth, eyes wide with shock. I could feel the judgment pressing in from every direction. I didn't cry. I didn't shout. I simply stood there, breathing slowly, because I had known this was coming. A week earlier, I had received a strange security alert on my phone. Someone had tried to access my cloud storage from another device. When I investigated with a trusted friend who worked in cybersecurity, we discovered the attempt had come from Rebecca's laptop. She had been digging through my files, looking for anything she could use against me. What she didn't know was that I had been protecting something far more important than my own reputation. Nathan turned to me, pain clear in his eyes. Lena, is this true? Do you have a child with someone else? The question hurt more than Rebecca's accusation. For 9 years, I had loved this man with everything I had. I had stood beside him through the grief of losing his brother. I had kept quiet promises when no one else would. I looked at him gently.
No, Nathan.
I don't have a child with anyone else. Rebecca laughed sharply. Then explain the messages. Explain the photos. I glanced at her phone, still displaying this so-called proof. Then I looked around the room at the faces that had already condemned me. Since you're so eager to show everyone, I said calmly, why don't we put it on the big TV? That way no one misses any details. Rebecca hesitated for the first time. Her confident smile faltered.
Why?
Everyone can already see it on my phone. Because some things deserve to be seen clearly, I replied softly. Nathan rubbed his forehead, torn between his sister and me. Olivia, what's going on? I gave him a small, steady smile, the same smile I had worn through years of Rebecca's quiet cruelty. You'll understand in a minute, I said. But first, let's make sure the truth is impossible to miss. Rebecca's fingers tightened around her phone. For the first time that night, she looked nervous. The room waited, breath held, as the weight of what was about to happen settled over all of us. The living room felt smaller with every passing second. All eyes were on me, some accusing, some pitying, some simply stunned. Nathan stood frozen beside me, his face pale with confusion and pain. Rebecca held her phone like a weapon, her smile still sharp even as a flicker of uncertainty crossed her eyes. I kept my voice steady. Since you want everyone to see the truth so badly, let's make sure they see it clearly. I walked over to the television mounted on the wall and picked up the HDMI cable. Rebecca hesitated, then handed me her phone with forced confidence.
Fine.
Show them. Let everyone see what kind of woman you really are. Nathan rubbed his temples. Olivia, what are you doing? I plugged the cable in. A moment later, Rebecca's phone screen appeared large on the TV for the entire room to see. The fake messages and photos of the little girl filled the screen. Whispers rose again. Someone muttered, "Those look real." Rebecca crossed her arms, triumphant.
There.
Happy now? Everyone can see your secret child. I turned to face the room, my expression calm. Those messages aren't from me. They were created 2 days after I received a security alert saying someone had tried to access my private files from another device. Rebecca laughed coldly. Nice try. You're just trying to twist this. I continued without raising my voice. The alert showed the attempts came from a specific laptop. Rebecca's laptop. The room went still. Nathan's head snapped toward his sister. Claire, what is she talking about? Rebecca's face tightened. That's ridiculous. Anyone could have used my computer. I shook my head gently.
No.
Not anyone. The person who created these fake messages also tried to plant them in my cloud storage to make them look real. I picked up the remote and changed the display. The fabricated conversation disappeared. In its place appeared a clean digital forensics report, dates, IP addresses, login records. One line stood out clearly. Device location, Rebecca Mitchell's laptop. Gasps filled the room. Nathan stared at the screen, then slowly turned to his sister. Rebecca, explain this. Rebecca's confidence cracked further. This is fake. She made it up to cover herself. I stayed calm. There's more. I pressed the remote again. This time the screen showed something entirely different. a series of photos, and a short video. A beautiful little girl, about 6 years old, with Nathan's family eyes and smile. She was laughing in a park, holding a stuffed bear. The room fell into absolute silence. Nathan's voice came out hoarse. "Olivia, whose child is that?" I looked at him gently, then at Rebecca, then back at the screen. "That little girl is your brother's daughter," I said quietly. "Your late brother's daughter. The one none of you knew about." Rebecca's face went white. "What?" I continued, my voice soft but clear. "3 years ago, when your brother was dying after the accident, he begged me to protect his child. He had a secret relationship. The mother couldn't raise her. He was terrified the family would judge the child harshly, especially you, Rebecca. He asked me to keep her safe and never let the family know until she was old enough to understand." I looked directly at Nathan. "I've been raising her quietly for 3 years. She's safe. She's loved. And she has no idea her aunt just tried to destroy her mother's reputation to cover her own mistakes." The room was frozen. Rebecca looked like she couldn't breathe. Nathan stared at the little girl on the screen, tears filling his eyes. "My brother had a daughter." Rebecca stepped back, shaking her head. "You're lying. This can't be real." But the proof was right there on the television for everyone to see. And for the first time that night, the accuser had become the one exposed. The silence in the room was absolute. The little girl's smiling face still filled the large television screen, her eyes so clearly carrying the family resemblance that no one could deny it. Rebecca stood frozen, her earlier confidence shattered into pieces. Nathan's voice broke first, raw and unsteady. "My brother had a daughter?" I nodded gently. "Yes. Her name is Sophie. She's 6 now. When your brother was dying after the accident, he told me everything. He had a brief relationship with a woman who couldn't raise the child. He was terrified the family would judge her harshly, especially you, Rebecca. He begged me to protect her, to keep her safe until she was old enough to understand. He made me promise." Rebecca shook her head violently, her face pale. "You're lying. This is some sick story you made up to cover your own mess." I remained calm. "I have the voice recording from his final days. He asked me specifically not to tell the family, because he knew how you would react. He said you had always been too harsh on anyone who didn't fit your perfect image." Nathan stepped closer to the screen, staring at the little girl with tears in his eyes. "She looks just like him." Guests whispered among themselves. Some looked at Rebecca with disbelief. Others looked at me with a new kind of respect, the quiet woman who had carried this secret alone for 3 years. Rebecca's voice rose, desperate now. "This doesn't change anything. She still hid a child from you, Nathan. She lied to all of us." I looked at her steadily. "I didn't hide her from Nathan. I was waiting for the right time. But you tried to destroy my marriage and my reputation to cover up what you've been doing." I pressed the remote again. The screen changed once more. This time it showed bank records. Multiple transfers totaling over $95,000 moved out of the family business account over the past 18 months. Every transaction traced back to Rebecca's personal accounts. The room gasped. Nathan turned slowly toward his sister. "Rebecca, what is this?" Rebecca's hands started shaking. That's not what it looks like. I was borrowing it. I was going to pay it back." "You stole from the family business," Nathan said quietly, his voice heavy with disappointment. "And when Olivia found out about the missing money last week, you panicked. You created fake messages and photos to make it look like she was the one hiding something. You tried to ruin her so no one would believe her if she spoke up." Rebecca's eyes filled with tears, but they were angry tears. "She doesn't belong here. She never did. I was protecting you, protecting our family." "No," Nathan said, his voice firm now. "You were protecting yourself." The weight of the truth settled over everyone. The sister-in-law who had spent years making me feel small had just exposed her own betrayal in front of the entire family. Rebecca looked around the room, searching for support that wasn't there. No one defended her. Even her parents looked shocked and disappointed. I spoke one last time, my voice soft but clear. "I kept Sophie safe because your brother asked me to. I never wanted to hurt this family. but I won't let anyone destroy mine either. Nathan walked over to me and took my hand. This time, he held it tightly. I'm so sorry, Olivia. I should have trusted you. Rebecca stood there for a long moment, tears streaming down her face. Then, without another word, she grabbed her purse and walked out of the house. The door closed behind her with a final, heavy click. The room remained quiet, but the tension had broken. The truth had finally come out, not with shouting, but with calm, undeniable proof. And in that moment, the family began to see me differently, not as the outsider anymore, but as the woman who had protected their hidden legacy when no one else would. The door clicked shut behind Rebecca, leaving a heavy silence in the room. No one moved at first. The little girl's face still smiled from the television screen, innocent and unaware of the storm that had just passed. Nathan stood beside me, his hand holding mine tightly, as if afraid I might disappear. I'm so sorry, Olivia, he whispered, his voice thick with emotion. I should have trusted you. I should have seen what she was doing. I squeezed his hand gently. You were hurt. She made it look real. Anyone would have doubted. His mother stepped forward, eyes glistening. All this time, you were protecting my son's child. You carried that alone for 3 years. I nodded. He asked me to. On his last night, he was terrified the family would reject her. He said Rebecca would never accept a child born outside what she considered proper. So, I promised to keep Sophie safe until she was ready. Nathan wiped his eyes. Sophie, my brother's daughter. I have a niece. One of the guests, an old family friend, cleared his throat. Olivia, you could have exposed Rebecca months ago. Why wait? I looked around the room at the faces that had judged me only minutes earlier. Because this wasn't about revenge. It was about protecting a little girl who lost her father too young. And because I hoped Rebecca would stop before it went this far. Nathan's father spoke quietly. You showed more strength tonight than any of us. Thank you for honoring my son's last wish. The atmosphere in the house had completely changed. The whispers of accusation were gone. In their place was a quiet respect I had never felt from this family before. Some guests came over to offer soft apologies. Others simply nodded at me with new understanding. Nathan turned off the television and pulled me into his arms. I don't deserve you, he murmured against my hair. But I'm going to spend the rest of my life trying to be worthy of the trust you've shown. I smiled against his chest. We'll figure it out together. And when Sophie is ready, she'll have a big family who loves her. Later that night, after the last guests had left and the house grew quiet again, Nathan and I sat on the couch. The anniversary cake remained untouched on the table, but neither of us minded. We had something far more meaningful to celebrate now. I want to meet her, Nathan said softly. When she's ready. I want her to know she has an uncle who already loves her. I rested my head on his shoulder. She will. And she'll know her father was a good man who tried to protect her the only way he could. We sat in comfortable silence for a long time, the weight of the evening slowly lifting. Rebecca's departure had left a scar, but it had also cleared the air. The family would heal, slowly, carefully, and I would continue protecting the quiet promises I had made. As I looked at the cake with its 9 glowing candles, now melted low, I realized something important. This anniversary wasn't just about 9 years of marriage. It was about the night truth finally broke through years of hidden resentment. It was about choosing protection over revenge. And it was about a little girl who would one day know that her aunt had kept her father's last wish with love and quiet strength. I blew out the candles, not with a wish for the future, but with gratitude for the strength I had found when I needed it most.